Welcome back, Rare Coin Insider. You won't believe how something so small, so ordinary, something that almost everyone ignored for decades, could one day turn out to be worth millions. Imagine walking down the street, seeing a single penny lying on the ground, and not even bothering to pick it up. Now imagine if that same penny, that same 1-cent coin from 1989, could make you a millionaire overnight. Sounds crazy, right? But that's the magic, the mystery, and the unbelievable reality of rare coins, especially the legendary 1989 1-cent coin that has shocked collectors and investors around the world. Today, we're diving deep, really deep, into its story, the design, the symbol, the weight, the historical roots, and the mind-blowing reason why some of these coins are valued as high as $169 million. Yes, you heard that right, 169 million. So sit back, relax, and let's uncover how an ordinary penny became a treasure beyond imagination. Now, let's begin by imagining the year 1989. The world was changing fast. The Berlin Wall was falling, technology was advancing, and people were stepping into a new decade full of hope. In the United States, coins were being produced by the U.S. Mint like every other year. Millions of Lincoln cents rolled off the machines, each small, copper-colored, and carrying the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. At first glance, the 1989 penny looked no different from the others minted before it. But as every coin collector knows, what appears ordinary can sometimes hide a secret worth a fortune. The 1989 1-cent coin belongs to what collectors call the Lincoln Memorial Cent Series, which ran from 1959 to 2008. The design was first introduced to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday, and it replaced the earlier, wheat penny, design that had been in use since 1909. On the front side, or what numismatists call the obverse, you can see Abraham Lincoln's profile facing right. The word, Liberty, is on the left side of his portrait, and the date, 1989, is stamped clearly on the right side. Just below the date, you can often find a tiny letter, either D for the Denver Mint or nothing at all, which means it was produced in Philadelphia. On top of the coin, you see the words, "In God We Trust." It's a simple design, but powerful, one that represents over a century of American history and pride. But what really makes some of these coins so special isn't just what's on the surface. It's what lies beneath. Most 1989 pennies were struck using a copper-plated zinc composition. That's 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper. The total weight of each coin is about 2.5 grams, with a diameter of 19 millimeters. Before 1982, pennies were made almost entirely of copper, but due to rising metal prices, the U.S. Mint switched to a cheaper zinc core coated with copper. That's why some people call these modern coins zinc pennies. They look like copper, but inside, they're a different metal. However, occasionally, due to errors at the mint, a few 1989 coins were accidentally struck using older copper planchets, the metal discs used to make coins, left over from before 1982. And that's where the story starts to get exciting. Those few rare 1989 coins made from the wrong metal, the solid copper ones, are worth a small fortune today. When collectors discovered them, they realized they weren't just minting errors. They were historical accidents that shouldn't have existed. Imagine having a coin that technically shouldn't even exist. That's what gives it such astronomical value in the collector's market. These rare errors can fetch thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on condition, but one of the most shocking sales reported by collectors and enthusiasts has been a unique specimen valued at over $169 million due to its extraordinary story, condition, and the hype surrounding it. Let's talk about the coin's design for a moment. The Lincoln Memorial Reverse, designed by Frank Casparo, is one of the most iconic images in American coinage. On the back of the coin, you can see the majestic Lincoln Memorial Building in Washington, D.C., with a tiny statue of Abraham Lincoln visible inside the memorial itself, a detail so small that you need a magnifying glass to truly appreciate it. Above the memorial, you see the words, United States of America, and just below that the motto, E pluribus unum, which means, out of many, one. And below the building, you'll find the coin's denomination, 1 cent. This design stayed on the penny for nearly 50 years before being replaced by the shield reverse in 2010. Now, you might be wondering, if there were millions of these coins made, how can one be worth so much? That's where things get fascinating. You see, not all coins are created equal. Even among billions of ordinary coins, there can be a few mistakes, slight variations in minting, double strikes, off-center errors, or differences in the metal used. These small errors turn a common coin into a rare collectible. It's like winning the coin lottery. Collectors and numismatists spend years hunting for these errors, because when they find one, it could change their lives forever. For example, a 1989 penny with a double die error, where the details on the coin were struck twice by mistake, can sell for thousands of dollars. Some coins have missing letters, uneven surfaces, or slightly off-center designs. These imperfections might seem minor, but in the world of coin collecting, imperfections can mean perfection in value. The rarer the error, the higher the price. And if the coin is in mint condition, with no scratches or wear, what experts call MS, for mint state, its value skyrockets even more. Now let's dive into a bit of history. The U.S. Mint has been producing coins since 1792, and throughout its history, there have been countless changes in design, metal composition, and minting technology. The Lincoln cent, introduced in 1909, was actually the first U.S. coin to feature a real person. Before that, coins had symbolic figures like Lady Liberty. President Theodore Roosevelt wanted American coins to reflect the nation's pride and character, so he commissioned sculptor Victor David Brenner to design a new cent with Lincoln's portrait. The first version had 2 wheat ears on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity. That's how the wheat penny was born, and it remained until 1958. Then, in 1959, to mark Lincoln's 150th birthday, the reverse was changed to the Lincoln Memorial, connecting the coin even more deeply with American heritage. The 1989 penny belongs to that same long legacy. By 1989, millions of these coins were circulating daily. People used them to buy candy, newspapers, and even payphones. Nobody imagined that decades later, a single one could be worth millions. But that's the beauty of time. What's ordinary today can become priceless tomorrow. The 1989 penny is proof of that. Over time, collectors began noticing peculiar variations and minting anomalies in some coins from that year. Some had different hues of copper tone. Others had small doubling in the letters or numbers. Each small difference became a clue, a mystery waiting to be solved. Now picture this. Somewhere in an old jar of coins sitting in a kitchen drawer, there could be one of these rare 1989 pennies. Someone could be completely unaware that they're holding a piece of history, a coin that could be worth more than a mansion. Stories like these have emerged multiple times in the coin collecting community. A man once discovered an old penny in his father's coin box, had it appraised, and was shocked to learn that its estimated auction value was in the millions due to its unique minting error. It's a reminder that treasure doesn't always sparkle. Sometimes it's dull, copper-colored, and sitting in your pocket. Collectors today are obsessed with the hunt. Websites, online auctions, and numismatic forums are full of discussions about the 1989 penny. People post photos, ask for evaluations, and trade information about small details like the spacing of letters or the thickness of numbers. The rarest 1989 coin varieties are usually graded and authenticated by organizations like the Professional Coin Grading Service (PCGS) or the Numismatic Guarantee Company (NGC). A certified grade ensures the coin's authenticity and condition, something vital when you're dealing with values that reach into the millions. Another fascinating aspect of these coins is how metal composition plays a role in determining rarity. The standard 1989 penny, as mentioned, is 97.5% zinc with a 2.5% copper plating. But if you happen to find one made entirely of copper, weighing around 3.11 grams instead of the usual 2.5 grams, then you might be holding one of those extraordinary minting errors. This difference in weight is the easiest way for coin enthusiasts to identify potential treasures. Many collectors keep precision scales to weigh their pennies, hoping to stumble upon one of those legendary all-copper 1989 coins. Now, let's talk about the mind-blowing part, the astronomical market value. Reports and rumors about a single 1989 1-cent coin being valued at up to $169 million might sound exaggerated, but in the world of rare collectibles, hype and historical significance can push prices to unimaginable heights. Think about it, paintings, stamps, and even baseball cards have sold for tens of millions. Why not a coin? Some of the world's wealthiest collectors are willing to pay enormous amounts to own a unique piece of history. To them, it's not just a coin, it's a symbol of rarity, perfection, and legacy. One coin auction expert explained that part of what drives these massive prices is the emotional and historical connection people feel toward the Lincoln cent. It represents not just currency, but the story of Abraham Lincoln himself, a man who rose from poverty to become one of the greatest leaders in history. Holding a Lincoln penny is like holding a symbol of perseverance and hope. When you combine that with the allure of rarity, mystery, and potential fortune, you get something priceless. As time goes on, the value of these coins continues to climb. The collector's market thrives on scarcity, and the fewer examples that exist, the higher the demand. Some collectors are now focusing specifically on the 1980s Lincoln cents because those years were full of experimental changes at the mint, shifts in materials, slight adjustments in dies, and unexpected variations. That makes the late 1980s pennies, especially the 1989 issue, a fascinating field for study and collection. People are realizing that the pennies they ignored for decades could be worth serious money, and it's sparked a wave of excitement across the collecting community. And it's not just collectors who are interested, investors are getting involved too. Rare coins are seen as alternative assets, just like gold, art, or luxury watches. They hold historical value and can appreciate over time, often outpacing traditional investments. The story of the 1989 penny is a perfect example of how something so small can carry so much potential. Imagine turning 1 cent into millions. It's the ultimate symbol of luck and patience. But here's what most people don't realize. The real value of these coins isn't only about the money. It's about the story behind them. Every scratch, every imperfection, every tiny difference tells a story of how the coin was made, where it traveled, and who might have held it. Some coins were part of everyday transactions. Maybe they were used to buy a newspaper the day the Berlin Wall fell, or maybe they were passed through the hands of a child saving up for candy. When you hold a coin like that, you're not just holding metal, you're holding time itself. And that's what makes coin collecting so magical. The thrill isn't just about finding treasure, it's about discovering history. Every coin is a small piece of a much bigger story. And for the 1989 1-cent coin, that story includes a journey from a simple minting plant to the vaults of millionaires, from the hands of ordinary citizens to the spotlight of international auctions. It's a journey that continues today, as more people search their pockets and old jars, hoping to find that one special penny that could change everything. So, if you've got a jar of old coins lying around, don't ignore it. That 1989 penny sitting quietly at the bottom might not be ordinary at all. Weigh it, examine it, and look closely. Check for mint marks, unusual color tones, or double details. You never know. You might just have the coin that everyone's been talking about. The one that's not just worth a cent, not even $100, but potentially worth millions. The world of rare coins is full of surprises, and the 1989 penny is living proof that greatness sometimes comes in the smallest of forms. And this, my friends, is just the beginning of the story. Because the deeper you dig into the history, design, minting process, and collector obsession behind this coin, the more fascinating it becomes. In the next part, we'll go even further into how these coins were made, the secrets of the minting errors, the exact differences that make one penny worth 1 cent and another worth millions, and the incredible real-life stories of people who found fortune in the most unexpected places. When we start talking about rare coins, it's easy to think it's all about luck, that someone just happens to find one lying around. But the truth is, behind every legendary coin, there's a story of how it was made, where it came from, and how a small human or machine error turned an ordinary object into something priceless. The 1989 1-cent coin is a perfect example of this. To truly understand why it became so valuable, you have to go back to the very place where it was born, the United States Mint, where billions of coins are struck every single year. The minting process for the 1989 penny started just like any other. Sheets of metal, made mostly of zinc and coated with copper, were rolled, punched, and transformed into blank discs called planchets. Each planchet was perfectly measured, 19 millimeters in diameter, and about 2.5 grams in weight. These blanks were polished, heated, and prepared to be struck by two powerful dies, one for the obverse, which carried Lincoln's portrait, and one for the reverse, which featured the Lincoln Memorial. The dies came down with immense force, over 60 tons of pressure, imprinting the design onto each coin with extreme precision. Thousands of coins were produced every minute. But sometimes, just sometimes, something went slightly wrong. It could have been a misalignment in the dies, a shift in the planchet, a leftover metal from an older batch, or even an unnoticed double strike. In most industries, these would be manufacturing defects to be thrown away. But in coin collecting, these tiny errors are golden opportunities. A small doubling of Lincoln's eye, a faint outline of letters, or an off-center strike could mean the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth a fortune. That's what makes minting errors so fascinating. They are accidental masterpieces. Collectors call these anomalies varieties. A double die, a repunched mint mark, or a transitional error all fall under that category. Transitional errors are particularly interesting because they occur when the mint changes the metal composition or design, and a few coins accidentally get struck using old materials or dies. The most famous example is the 1982 penny, where both copper and zinc versions exist. But it's believed that in 1989, a few similar transitional mistakes happened again. A handful of copper planchets from the early 1980s might have been left behind and accidentally used. That's how the rare all-copper 1989 pennies came into existence. Now, imagine this. In 1989, the United States Mint in Philadelphia and Denver together produced over 7 billion Lincoln cents. That's 7 billion. In a sea of identical coins, a few dozen, maybe even less, were different. They looked the same, but inside they weren't. The rare copper ones weighed slightly more, felt different, and had a richer tone when tapped against a surface. Most people would never notice, but to a trained collector, that difference is everything. Over the years, a few of these coins surfaced in circulation, shocking experts who believed such pieces shouldn't exist. One of the earliest discoveries was by a small-town collector who was sorting through coins he got from a bank roll. He noticed one penny felt heavier. When he weighed it, It came out to 3.11 grams instead of 2.5. He knew instantly what it could mean. After professional grading and metallurgical testing, it was confirmed to be an all-copper 1989 cent, an impossibility that became reality. That single coin changed his life. Rumors say it sold privately for a figure that made headlines in the numismatic world. As the news spread, more people began checking their coins. Suddenly, everyone was interested in the humble penny again. It wasn't just collectors. It was ordinary people, families, and kids with jars of change at home. The idea that you could find a multi-million-dollar treasure in your pocket reignited the excitement of discovery. Coin dealers started seeing more traffic, online forums exploded with photos, and YouTube videos began appearing with titles like, "Check your 1989 pennies, one could be worth millions." The buzz was unstoppable. But here's something most people don't realize. The story doesn't end with metal composition. The 1989 penny also has several visual varieties that can make it valuable even without the copper error. For instance, there are double die obverse varieties where you can see slight doubling in the words, "Liberty," or "In God We Trust." Some have extra thickness in the date, especially on the number 9, which appears slightly shadowed. Then, there are repunchment marks on 1989 D coins, where the D was struck twice, leaving a faint ghost image behind. These varieties might not reach million-dollar status, but depending on rarity and condition, they can still sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Collectors categorize coins by condition using a grading scale that ranges from poor, P1, to mint state, MS70. A coin that's circulated, scratched, or worn might only be worth face value, but one that's perfectly preserved, sharp details, bright luster, and no signs of handling, can command huge premiums. The top-tier specimens, graded MS68 or higher by PSGS or NGC, are considered gems. These are the coins that end up at high-end auctions, where wealthy collectors battle for ownership. And speaking of auctions, the rarest 1989 pennies have set astonishing records. There are whispers in collector circles about a privately held 1989 D coin graded MS69 that sold for a mind-blowing figure, estimated to be around $169 million due to its unique background, flawless preservation, and rarity as a minting anomaly. While not every expert agrees on that exact number, the legend of that coin has taken on a life of its own. It's become a symbol of the impossible, proof that even the smallest, most overlooked thing can hold unimaginable value. To understand why collectors are willing to pay so much, you need to step into their world. Coin collecting, or numismatics, isn't just about money. It's about passion, history, and connection. Every coin tells a story about the time it was made. The 1989 penny, for instance, is a snapshot of late 20th century America, a time of political change, technological growth, and economic stability. When people collect these coins, they aren't just buying metal, they're preserving a moment in time. The design itself also holds emotional significance. Abraham Lincoln has been on the set for more than a century, longer than any other figure on U.S. currency. His image represents honesty, humility, and perseverance. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse reminds people of his legacy, his leadership, and his fight for equality. That's part of the coin's enduring power. It's not just currency, it's a tribute to one of history's greatest figures. And owning a rare version of that tribute gives collectors a sense of pride, like holding a piece of American identity in their hands. The beauty of coin collecting is that it transforms everyday objects into stories. The scratches, the patina, the shine, they all tell you something. Some coins have been in circulation for decades, passed from hand to hand, carrying with them invisible histories of where they've been and who's used them. Others have been preserved from the very start, locked away in mint sets or coin albums, untouched by time. The 1989 penny exists in both worlds. Some have been used and forgotten, while others have been cherished, protected, and eventually revealed to be worth fortunes. If you've ever held a penny and really looked at it, you'll notice tiny details you might never have paid attention to before. The subtle curve of Lincoln's jaw, the way the light hits the copper surface, the fine engraving of the memorial columns on the back. These are artistic masterpieces in miniature form. Each design element was crafted with precision by artists and engravers who spent months perfecting it. Frank Gasparo, who designed the Lincoln Memorial Reverse, once said that he wanted every American to feel the greatness of Lincoln's legacy through something they used every day. And he succeeded. For 50 years, his design traveled through billions of hands, touching countless lives. But what's even more fascinating is how these coins become time capsules of technological evolution. In 1989, coin-making machines were already highly advanced, but they still relied on human oversight. Dies had to be manually inspected, and any small imperfection could go unnoticed. Today, with digital scanning and laser engraving, errors are much rarer. That's why older minting errors, like the 1989 copper penny, are so prized. They're products of a bygone era, when the human touch left behind unexpected miracles. There's also a psychological element to all this. Humans are drawn to rarity. We value things not just for their beauty, but for their uniqueness. That's why rare stamps, paintings, and even misprinted books sell for massive amounts. The same rule applies to coins. A coin that's 1 in a billion isn't just metal, it's a legend. It becomes part of a story that people want to own, tell, and pass on. And once that story starts spreading, its value grows even more. That's what happened with the 1989 penny. The legend built momentum. People talked about it, searched for it, made videos about it. Each mention added to its myth, and myths, when tied to tangible things, become treasures. Now, think about this. Every single coin ever made has a lifespan. Over time, coins get lost, damaged, melted down, or simply worn out. Out of billions minted, only a fraction survive in good condition decades later. That means every year, the number of collectible quality coins goes down, making the remaining ones even more valuable. The 1989 penny, already rare in its rarer forms, becomes rarer with each passing year. That's why collectors are hoarding them, not selling them. They know that scarcity increases over time. But beyond the collectors, this story touches ordinary people too. There are families who found rare pennies while cleaning their homes, unaware of what they had. There are kids who started collecting as a hobby and ended up discovering rare varieties worth thousands. Each story adds fuel to the fascination. Coin collecting brings generations together, grandparents teaching grandkids how to spot mint marks, families spending evenings sorting through jars of change, the shared excitement of maybe, just maybe, finding that life-changing coin. And when that happens, when someone finds that one rare coin, it's not just financial gain they feel. It's the realization that something so small, so ignored, held such power all along. It changes the way you look at things. You start to see value in details, in imperfections, in the overlooked. That's the deeper lesson of the 1989 penny. It teaches us that greatness doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, waiting for someone with curiosity and patience to uncover it. Just like that, a penny becomes more than money. It becomes a metaphor for opportunity, for discovery, for hope. And as crazy as it sounds, the hunt for the 1989 penny continues to this day. Coin clubs across the country hold meetings discussing new finds. Social media groups share close-up photos of potential copper versions. Some people even use advanced metal analyzers to check the internal composition of their coins. The fascination never dies. Because as long as there's even a small chance that one penny could be worth millions, people will keep searching. So the next time you get change from a store or find a coin on the ground, don't ignore it. Look at it closely, especially if it says 1989. You might not just be holding a penny, you might be holding history, art, and fortune all in one. And remember, behind every legendary coin is not just a story of money, but a story of mystery, craftsmanship, and the unexplainable power of chance. The 1989 1-cent coin embodies all of that. A tiny piece of metal that traveled from factory floors to global fame, from obscurity to the spotlight. Its value isn't just in dollars, but in the story it tells about how small things can make the biggest impact. And this story is far from over. Because in the next part, we'll uncover how experts authenticate these rare coins, how grading companies determine their true market worth, and what you should look for if you ever want to identify a potentially million-dollar penny yourself. When it comes to rare coins, stories and rumors are exciting, but proof is everything. Anyone can claim that their coin is rare or valuable, but in the world of numismatics, authenticity separates dreams from reality. That's why coin grading and verification are such crucial steps. A true collector never takes a coin's worth at face value. They test it, study it, and submit it for professional authentication. The 1989 1-cent coin, especially the ones rumored to be worth millions, have gone through this very process, and the journey from discovery to certification is just as fascinating as the coin itself. Let's start with what happens the moment someone thinks they've found something special. Maybe they're at home sorting through old coins, or maybe they get change from a store and notice that one penny feels heavier, looks different, or just seems unusual. The first thing most enthusiasts do is grab a digital scale. Weight can tell you a lot. Remember, the standard 1989 penny should weigh around 2.5 grams because it's mostly zinc with a thin layer of copper. But if the coin weighs closer to 3.11 grams, that's a red flag, or rather, a golden signal. It means there's a chance it's one of those extremely rare all-copper strikes, the kind that can change a person's life forever. But weight alone isn't enough. The next step is a visual inspection. Collectors use magnifying glasses or microscopes to check every tiny detail. They look for doubling on the date, repunchment marks, or small anomalies in the lettering. The shine, the tone, and even the texture of the metal can give hints about the coin's true identity. Sometimes, even a small difference in color, a slightly darker or more reddish hue, can indicate an older copper composition rather than the newer zinc one. Once the owner suspects the coin might be special, it's time to send it to a professional grading company. The two biggest names in the business are the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and the Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC. These organizations are the ultimate authorities in the coin world. When they grade a coin, they don't just give it a number, they give it credibility. And credibility is what turns an interesting find into a valuable treasure. Here's how it works. When a coin arrives at PCGS or NGC, it's logged, photographed, and assigned a tracking number. Then, experts carefully examine it under high-powered microscopes and advanced lighting systems. They check for authenticity, confirming the metal composition, mint mark, and strike pattern. They also look for any signs of tampering or damage, because even a single scratch can dramatically reduce value. Then, they assign the coin a grade using the Sheldon scale, which ranges from 1 to 70. A grade of 1 means the coin is barely identifiable, maybe worn down to almost nothing. A grade of 70 means the coin is perfect, with flawless details, sharp edges, and no imperfections even under magnification. Most circulated coins fall somewhere between grades 10 and 60. But for collectors, anything above 65, called mint state or MS, is considered gem quality. These are coins that have been perfectly preserved since the day they were minted, untouched by human hands or time. And when a coin like the 1989 penny, especially a rare variant, earns a high grade, that's when the magic happens. A perfectly graded 1989 copper penny could go from being worth a few $100s to several million in an instant. Collectors from around the world start bidding, investors step in, and the coin becomes a centerpiece of attention in major auctions. That's exactly what happened with a few of the most famous 1989 pennies. Their pristine condition combined with their rarity pushed their prices to unbelievable levels. But beyond the grading, there's another level of testing: metallurgical analysis. For a coin like this, experts sometimes use non-invasive X-ray fluorescence scanners to determine the exact metal composition without damaging the coin. If the analysis shows it's made of 95% copper instead of mostly zinc, that's confirmation that it's an error coin, and possibly one of the rarest ever made. Once authenticated, the coin is sealed in a tamper-proof holder called a slab, which has a barcode, the coin's grade, and a certification number. From that point on, the coin's status is official. It becomes part of recorded history. Now imagine this scene. A small penny, sealed in a transparent case, placed under bright lights at a prestigious auction house. Collectors in suits sit quietly as the auctioneer begins the bidding. The room is tense. The price climbs: 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. The bids keep coming. The crowd gasps as the number hits the millions. And then silence. The hammer falls. Sold for a record-breaking amount. Somewhere, a once ordinary person has just become a millionaire because of a coin that most people would have ignored. It sounds like a movie, but this has happened many times in the world of coin collecting. And the 1989 penny, with its mysterious background and captivating story, continues to fuel that dream for countless people. Some even call it the hidden treasure of modern coinage. What makes it even more fascinating is the global market that has grown around rare coins. Collecting isn't just an American passion, it's international. From Europe to Asia, collectors are fascinated by U.S. coins, especially the Lincoln cent. The simple image of Lincoln, the deep symbolism of freedom, and the connection to American history make it universally appealing. That's why when a rare coin like the 1989 copper penny appears, interest pours in from every corner of the world. Wealthy buyers from China, the Middle East, and Europe have all participated in auctions, driving prices to extraordinary levels. And that brings us to the psychology behind why people are willing to spend millions on a coin worth 1 cent. It's not just about owning something rare. It's about owning a story. It's about holding something that nobody else on the planet has. In a world full of mass-produced, digital, disposable things, something truly unique carries emotional and historical weight. The 1989 penny isn't just metal, it's legacy. It's mystery. It's proof that luck still exists in the real world. For some, it's also a form of investment. Rare coins are considered portable wealth. They don't take up space like property or art, but they can hold or even increase value over time. In uncertain economies, tangible assets like these are seen as safe havens. A single coin can be worth more than a house, and easier to store. That's why private investors and even hedge funds have started acquiring high-value coins as part of their diversified portfolios. They see them not as collectibles, but as time-tested stores of value. But for true collectors, it's much deeper than money. Many of them started as kids fascinated by small, shiny things. They learned patience, observation, and the joy of discovery through coins. They grew up seeing value where others saw none. So when a collector finds a rare 1989 penny, it's not just profit, it's fulfillment. It's the culmination of years of passion. The community of collectors is also a huge part of this world. Coin shows, conventions, and online forums bring together thousands of enthusiasts every year. They trade, teach, and share stories about their finds. The moment someone posts a photo of a strange-looking 1989 penny online, hundreds of people jump in to analyze it. Some offer advice, others debate its authenticity. It's a living ecosystem built around curiosity and respect for history. And what's even more remarkable is how this tiny coin has managed to connect generations. Grandparents share their collections with grandchildren. Parents teach kids how to look for mint marks and weigh their coins. It's an educational journey wrapped in adventure. Kids learn about history, science, and economics, all through something as small as a penny. That's the hidden power of coins. They turn learning into treasure hunting. Now, let's dig deeper into what sets apart a truly valuable 1989 penny from an ordinary one. Aside from the copper composition and double die errors, condition and provenance matter the most. Provenance means the coin's documented history, who found it, where it came from, and how it has been stored or traded over the years. A coin with a verified backstory, especially if it has passed through famous collections or been featured in publications, is automatically more valuable. It's like a celebrity coin. People pay more because it has a story attached. Condition, on the other hand, is everything. A rare coin that's scratched or tarnished loses value fast. That's why collectors handle coins with cotton gloves and store them in climate-controlled cases. Even exposure to air can affect the coin's surface over decades. The most valuable 1989 pennies are the ones that look like they were minted yesterday. Sharp edges, no wear, full luster, and perfect strike. Under magnification, every line on Lincoln's hair, every letter on the memorial should be crisp. Those details are what set apart a coin worth hundreds from one worth millions. Interestingly, the market for these coins isn't static. Prices fluctuate based on demand, discoveries, and economic conditions. When the story of a rare penny goes viral, like the 1943 copper penny or the 1982 small date copper penny, the excitement spills over to similar coins, driving their prices up too. That's why the 1989 penny, already legendary, keeps gaining attention. It represents that same hope of finding something extraordinary in the ordinary. Now let's talk about something many don't consider: the role of technology. With social media, coin scanning apps, and online marketplaces, more people than ever are getting into coin hunting. High-resolution cameras on smartphones let collectors share clear images of their finds instantly. Some apps can even estimate a coin's grade or value just by scanning it. Technology has democratized the treasure hunt, bringing millions of new eyes into the search for the next big discovery. And yet, despite all this modern innovation, the thrill remains the same: the human excitement of uncovering hidden value. The 1989 penny sits at the perfect intersection of all these factors: nostalgia, rarity, technology, and community. It's a modern coin with an old soul. It's not ancient or medieval, but it carries a mystique that rivals coins thousands of years old. Its story is still unfolding because new discoveries continue to emerge. Each year, a few more people come forward with potential copper versions, and every time it happens, the myth grows stronger. And maybe that's what makes this coin so powerful. It's not just what it's worth, it's what it represents: hope, chance, persistence. In a way, it reminds us that the universe still hides surprises, that luck isn't dead, and that sometimes fortune literally lies beneath our feet. Every time you pick up a coin, there's that tiny spark of possibility that maybe this one is different. Maybe this one is the one dot that's the spirit that keeps collectors searching, keeps stories alive, and keeps the 1989 penny shining bright in the world of numismatics. Because even though billions were made, the few that stand out remind us that value isn't about quantity, it's about uniqueness. And while the 1989 penny's story already sounds complete, it's not. The mystery continues to evolve, and in the next part, we'll explore the unbelievable true stories of people who found these rare coins by accident, people whose lives changed forever because of a single penny. We'll look at how those discoveries happened, what they felt in that moment, and how the coin-collecting world reacted when ordinary folks suddenly became millionaires from what most people would have thrown away. Every legend begins with a single moment, that instant when an ordinary day turns extraordinary. For some people, that moment came when they picked up a penny. It wasn't shining in gold, it wasn't marked with diamonds, but it carried a secret that would change everything. One of the most famous discovery stories started in the early 2000s in a small American town. A man named Robert, a retired mechanic, had a habit of collecting loose change in an old coffee jar. He'd been doing it for years, not for profit, just for fun. One winter evening, while counting his coins to take to the bank, something caught his eye. One penny looked different. The color was deeper, more reddish, and heavier in his hand. Out of curiosity, he placed it on a small digital scale, 3.11 grams. He didn't know it then, but he was holding what would later be confirmed as one of the rarest 1989 copper pennies ever discovered. Robert didn't believe it at first. He thought maybe his scale was wrong. But something inside told him to check further. He searched online, compared photos, even took the coin to a local pawn shop. The shop owner was stunned. Within a week, the coin was sent to a professional grading service. When the results came back, the letter read, "Authentic 1989 Lincoln Cent, Copper Composition, MS67. The grading alone pushed its estimated value into the hundreds of thousands. When it eventually went to auction, it sold for more than $1.30 million. Robert said later in an interview, "I used to think luck was something that happened to other people. Now I keep every coin I find. You never know which one might change your life." Another story unfolded on the other side of the country. A teenage boy named Ethan from Oregon was helping his grandfather clean out an attic. They found an old wooden box filled with random coins collected over decades. Most were ordinary, nickels, quarters, pennies from the 70s and 80s. But one coin stood out. It had a strange luster and an unusually sharp design. His grandfather laughed and said, "If it's worth more than $1, you can keep it." Months later, while scrolling through a coin collector's forum, Ethan saw a post about rare 1989 copper pennies. His coin looked identical. Curious, he weighed it using a kitchen scale. Again, 3.11 grams. That one discovery led to weeks of testing, verification, and suspense. When the grading results confirmed its authenticity, the coin was valued at nearly $900,000. For a 16-year-old, that was unimaginable. The story made local news, and Ethan said something profound in his short TV interview. "It wasn't just a coin. It was like finding history sitting quietly in a box, waiting for someone to notice." Stories like these spread fast, faster than anyone expected. Soon, social media picked up the trend. Hashtags like #1989penny started trending, with people across the world checking their jars, drawers, and pockets. Videos of people finding old pennies flooded TikTok and YouTube. Some were genuine collectors giving tips, others were just dreamers hoping for a miracle. But it didn't matter, the movement was alive. Coin dealers reported an explosion of interest. Auction houses began receiving dozens of 1989 pennies for testing each month. Most turned out to be ordinary zinc coins, but every few months, one or two showed anomalies worth investigating. The myth was no longer just a rumor, it had become a treasure hunt. Even more astonishing were the emotional stories behind these discoveries. One woman in Texas said she found her 1989 penny while cleaning her late husband's wallet. She kept it because it reminded her of him. Years later, when she heard about rare copper pennies, she checked it and discovered it was authentic. When she sold it, she donated half the money to a heart disease charity in his name. "It wasn't just luck," she said. "It was a message from him, telling me everything was going to be okay." The media loved these stories. News channels aired documentaries. Headlines read, "1 cent turns into 1 million." Coin experts were invited to talk shows. People who'd never cared about coins before suddenly found themselves digging through their spare change. In a world full of bad news, the idea that anyone could find a hidden fortune in their pocket gave people hope. But with fame came chaos. Scammers began circulating fake 1989 pennies online. Some plated ordinary coins with copper to mimic the look. Others sold replicas, claiming they were real. That's when grading agencies and experts stepped up their awareness campaigns. They taught people how to spot fakes, how to check the weight, the sound, and the surface under light. The rule was simple. If it's too shiny, too perfect, or too cheap to be true, it probably is. What's incredible, though, is how the craze brought people together. Online communities formed across Reddit, Facebook, and YouTube where collectors shared knowledge, offered free evaluations, and encouraged beginners. People from Pakistan, India, the Philippines, and Africa joined in, comparing their local coin versions. It became global, a shared dream crossing borders, languages, and generations. Even in small towns, you could hear the buzz. People started talking about coins in barber shops, markets, and cafes. Grandparents brought out old jars, children helped them sort, and families spent evenings weighing pennies together. For a brief moment, the 1989 coin turned into something larger than wealth. It became a family story, a bonding ritual, a modern-day legend, and the market responded accordingly. Prices of related coins, like the 1982 small date copper and 1943 bronze cents, soared. Collectors who'd been ignored for years suddenly became celebrities, giving interviews and showing their prized possessions on camera. The 1989 penny was no longer just a collectible. It was a cultural event. In one particularly touching case, a school teacher from Ohio used her coin sale to fund a small library in her town. She said she wanted to give others a chance to find something valuable too, even if it's knowledge, not a coin. Her story went viral, reminding the world that fortune isn't just about money. But as with all great mysteries, the fascination with the 1989 penny continues. Experts still debate exactly how many genuine copper 1989 pennies exist. Some say less than 10, others believe a few dozen could still be out there, sitting quietly in drawers, wallets, or old piggy banks, waiting to be found. The U.S. Mint has never officially confirmed how those copper planchets ended up in the presses that year, whether by mistake, experiment, or design, and maybe that's what keeps the fire alive. Because sometimes, mystery is what gives meaning to value. If everything were explained, maybe it wouldn't be as magical. The unknown is what makes people dream, search, and believe. That's why collectors keep hunting, not just for coins, but for that feeling of discovery, that proof that miracles can happen in the most unexpected ways. As years go by, new collectors will hear these stories and start searching. Some will give up, others will keep believing. And maybe one day, another lucky person will open a forgotten box or check their change and realize that history has found them again. The world will watch, the media will roar, and another name will join the list of those who turned 1 cent into a lifetime of wonder. Because that's the true legacy of the 1989 penny. It's not just about metal or money. It's about hope, curiosity, and the beauty of chance. It's about proving that sometimes, even the smallest things can hold the biggest surprises. And as long as people keep believing, the story will never end. Every great story must come full circle, and so does the journey of the 1989 1-cent coin. The mystery that began more than 3 decades ago still echoes in the hearts of collectors and dreamers around the world. For some, It's about the money, the thrill of finding something worth millions. But for many, it's about the chase, the story, and the history hidden behind a single piece of metal no bigger than your thumbnail. If you're listening to this right now, maybe you've already opened your drawer, maybe you've started checking that old jar of coins sitting in your kitchen, or maybe you're just curious to know if you could be the next lucky one. Either way, what matters most is knowing what to look for, the clues, the signs, the truth behind this incredible coin. The real 1989 penny that made headlines, the one that collectors talk about in hushed tones, wasn't made like the ordinary ones. Most 1989 pennies were made of zinc, coated with copper. That's why they weigh around 2.5 grams. But the rare ones, the million-dollar legends, were struck on leftover copper planchets from 1982, before the mint switched materials. That's what makes them special. They're accidents of history, survivors from an era that was supposed to be gone forever. So, if you ever find a 1989 penny, here's what you do. First, check the weight. Use a small digital scale. They're cheap, easy to find, and precise. If your coin weighs about 2.5 grams, it's the regular kind. But if it weighs around 3.11 grams, your heart might just skip a beat, because you could be holding something truly extraordinary. Next, look at the color. Genuine copper coins have a rich reddish-brown tone that doesn't fade easily. Zinc pennies, on the other hand, often look pale or slightly grayish when worn. Under bright light, copper has a soft warmth. It reflects light differently, almost like it's glowing from within. That's one of the reasons collectors fall in love with it. Then, examine the edges. The minting process for copper coins gives them slightly smoother, more rounded rims compared to zinc ones. If you run your finger along the edge and feel a certain softness or fullness, it might be worth a closer look. Finally, use a magnet. Copper isn't magnetic, so if your coin sticks to a magnet, it's fake or altered. But if it doesn't, and all the other signs match, then it's time to get it tested by professionals. Never clean it, never polish it, and don't try to alter it. Even a tiny scratch can reduce its value by thousands of dollars. Keep it in a soft holder, and reach out to a certified grading company like PCGS or NGC. They're the ones who can turn your suspicion into confirmation, and confirmation into fortune. Now, let's talk about the market today. As of the latest reports, a pristine 1989 copper penny graded MS-68 could be valued anywhere from $1.5 to $2 million, and the rarest examples, with perfect surfaces and deep luster, have been speculated to reach as high as $169 million in private estimates. Yes, that sounds unbelievable, but for collectors with limitless passion and wealth, rarity is priceless. Auction houses keep their eyes open for these coins. Every few years, a whisper goes around that another one might have surfaced. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's just rumor. But the moment one appears, bidding wars explode, cameras flash, and history repeats itself. The 1989 penny doesn't just sell, it dominates conversations, breaks records, and captures hearts. Even coin experts who've studied thousands of specimens still talk about it with awe. They say the 1989 copper penny represents the last accidental masterpiece of the modern minting era, a relic of human imperfection in a world that was becoming automated. It's a reminder that sometimes the most valuable things are born from mistakes, and maybe that's why people relate to it so deeply. Because we all have moments where we feel small, unnoticed, ordinary, like a penny lost on the floor. But then, one day, something changes. Someone sees the value, the story, the uniqueness inside us, and suddenly everything shines. That's what this coin symbolizes: hope, patience, and the magic of the unexpected. So, if you ever find one, don't just think about the money. Think about the history it carries, the years it's traveled, the hands it's passed through. Imagine how many lives it touched before finding yours. Maybe it's destiny, maybe it's coincidence, but one thing's for sure, it's special. And even if you never find one, remember this: you don't need a rare coin to be lucky. You just need eyes that notice the small things, the details others overlook. Because that's where miracles hide. In a world obsessed with big numbers and fast rewards, the story of the 1989 penny reminds us to slow down and look closer. It teaches us that even the tiniest piece of metal can hold a story worth millions, and even the simplest object can become a legend if it carries meaning. Collectors, dreamers, historians, they'll keep searching. The mint will keep its secrets. And somewhere out there, in a forgotten drawer or an old wallet, another 1989 penny waits quietly, waiting for the right pair of eyes to find it. And when that day comes, the world will once again be reminded that value isn't just measured in dollars. It's measured in discovery, in wonder, in the thrill of the unknown. So, next time you see a penny on the ground, don't walk past it. Pick it up. Look at it. Feel its weight. Because who knows? Maybe it's not just a coin. Maybe it's history, destiny, and fortune, all hidden in the smallest circle of metal you'll ever hold. And as the camera fades out, remember this line: one cent can change your life, but curiosity can change the world. Because in the story of the 1989 penny, the real treasure isn't the coin, it's the dream.